Right now, South Africans prefer beer to soft drinks. That's according to the recent report findings by NielsenIQ SA. The report shows that beer is the top seller among fast-moving consumer goods, with sales moving up by 8% over the past 12 months. For more on this, we are joined by Jon-Jon Emary of NielsenIQ SA. Thank you so much, Jon-Jon, for speaking to us here on All Angles. I'm interested to know how you came to this conclusion.
Afternoon. Thanks for having us. Well, at NielsenIQ, we track sales across over 150,000 outlets in South Africa. So whether that's formal grocery stores, taverns, spaza stores, we do that on a monthly basis. And what we can see is that while beer as a standalone category is the largest in South Africa, and it's definitely seeing strong growth off the back of the success of bans that we saw during and after the hard lockdowns we had in 2020, we must be very conscious that ambient food or shelf-stable food, things like bread, tinned fish, all those sort of things that are in our basket, that's the single largest supergroup of products that's going into homes. So then we need to also look at these things in context and how they play together. Yes, beer as a standalone category contributes quite a lot to the total basket, but it is in connection with a lot of other categories which may, in their individual components, be slightly smaller, but collectively are really big and really important for South African households.
Well, clearly the alcohol, particularly the beer industry, is a booming one in terms of their sales going up by 8% in the last 12 months. But we all know how our economy is performing, how bad our rates of unemployment are. So does this give us a picture that South Africa is actually a very troubled country for us to prefer to buy beer to drown our sorrows away? Doesn't it look that way?
I think, it's a contextual matter here. I think we must be very, very aware of the fact that there were bans on alcohol in the comparative period. So if we're looking at last year, we had bans, we still had curfews in place, we had a number of measures put in place to control and curb the spread of COVID-19. These factors weren't in place for food categories or soft drink categories. They really only came into play for alcoholic beverages as well as cigarettes. So their growth is all a much lower base during that period, and at sometimes a zero base, right? We know that there was outright bans, and if we think back to just last year, January 2021, the whole month alcohol was banned. So these are contextual things that drive growth. Yes, again, we do enjoy our beer. I'm sure many of us can see to that, and obviously there's factors around that. But in terms of the sales growth that we're seeing, the stimulation in the market, a lot of that is coming off that low base. And if we look comparatively to 2019, pre-COVID levels, we are seeing a slightly different picture where in absolute volumes, the total liquor categories are still down. They haven't quite returned yet to the levels that they were being seen in 2019, which I suppose puts it into a bit of balance, right? Yes, there's growth. Yes, there's stimulation, but we're not selling as much beer and other alcoholic beverages as we were in 2019.
So when you say soft drinks, did you also compare, for instance, ciders in this particular category? And if you did, does this then mean that South Africans prefer beer because of the taste, or is it because maybe it's cheaper, like a Castle Light is cheaper than a B&G?
So when we look at alcoholic beverages, we'll split out beer and ciders as separate categories within total alcoholic beverages. Soft drinks are things like cans, soda or tonic waters or colas or all those sort of things that we drink on a daily basis, right? So think of your mix if you're looking at an alcoholic perspective, because I think that's pretty topical in terms of what we're discussing right now. But soft drinks are consumed on a daily basis throughout South Africa. Soft drinks in their totality are the second largest category, right? So we are seeing that. And they're seeing a bit of growth because there was a hold on the sugar tax increase. So a little bit lower inflation than we're seeing in some of the other categories, which has stimulated some of the growth. But again, they weren't banned, right? So soft drink sales were not banned in 2020, and they didn't see outright bans. So the growth numbers are slightly lower, but that base, again, is much higher because of those factors.
Did you find that, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, we've been saying that it's affected the price of oil, of petrol, etc. Has it affected the price of beer?
Not that we've seen at this point. I mean, we've definitely seen a significant increase in the price of cooking oil on shelves. So we've already seen since February into May, a litre of cooking oil has increased in excess of 12 Rand. So that's quite a significant effect that we've seen come through to the consumer on shelf. manufacturers and retailers alike, they're doing a lot and they're putting a lot of effort into maintaining and minimizing the price increases that us as consumers are feeling. And we really see that if we look at factors that we can see publicly, something like CPI, which was released last week at 5.9%, taking into consideration all the increases across the various goods that we are buying as consumers, things like fuel, which has increased by 30%, energy, food, all those sort of things. That's only at 5.9, where the input costs for the manufacturers are sitting at around 11% already. So they're really investing to help us as consumers and try and keep that at bay for as long as possible. The sort of big conscious thing we need to bear in mind with things like cooking oil. Vegetable oil is a raw ingredient into so many products that we use on a daily basis. Things like soap, ready-prepared meals, and many other categories have that as an input ingredient. So these significant increases are things that are going to come out and follow through onto the shelf at some point, because it's not possible for manufacturers as well as the retailers to absorb those costs indefinitely.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. That was Jon-Jon Emary of NielsenIQ SA.